our last lesson, we looked at how animals changed and adapted to different climates as they migrated north and southward. In this lesson, we will look back into time and see how people have adapted and changed to reach where we are today. The oldest human fossil on record was found just east of a tropical rainforest in Central Africa. Because of the moist and humid nature of tropical rainforests, human fossils, or any other type of fossil for that matter, could not be found in the rainforest itself. Anything that would live and die in this type of climate would dissolve or rot into the ground and would leave no trace behind. So there's no real way of telling just how long man has existed prior to him venturing out of the rainforest. It wasn't until early man entered into the desert regions that their bones were able to be calcified and preserved by the arid, dry heat. This version of early man has been widely estimated to exist between 4.2 and 2.4 million years ago. Early man, who still retained his herbivore instincts, immediately began to adapt to the new climate by evidence of cultivating tools found near the bones. In this new climate, there was a lot less variety of plants for them to eat, so they had to learn to farm their own food. According to the age of bones found in the region, approximately 1.6 million years ago, early man's presence was found to have migrated north and south in Africa. In the same period of time, approximately 6,000 miles east of Africa, another version of early man had emerged just outside of a tropical rainforest in Asia. Many scientists believe that descendants from Africa migrated to Asia, but the facts that the physical makeup of the two was vast and different from each other, and that the migration timeline is separated so far apart, if they truly did migrate to Asia, the artifacts would somehow look like this. The oldest remains found of modern man were found approximately 135,000 years ago, again outside the tropical rainforest region of Africa. While across the globe in Asia, a different version of modern man had emerged approximately 75,000 years ago. Again, you can see thousands of miles of disparity between the two findings. As man traveled northward, he found himself far from fruits and vegetations of the tropical rainforest, and he was forced to adapt his diet by picking up eating meat and other sources of food. He learned to eat meat by watching predators. He did not have the sharp claws like a predator, so he improvised by making sharp objects of wood, bones, or stone. As an example, he would observe the way a bird of prey would catch his food. He would then imitate the bird's actions by inventing arrows, a sharp object that flies through the air, guided by a bird feather, then puncturing the animal to catch the prey. Types of artifacts found just outside the tropical rainforest included shelters made of leaves and sticks, and mostly cultivating tools. As modern man migrated up north, you can see how the artifacts found changed. The shelters now were made with sticks and grass, and you found other tools such as knives and spears, along with cultivating tools. As modern man migrated up even farther into the colder regions, they eventually would end up with shelters made of skins and bones. Their tools would primarily be for processing meat. Far from the tropical rainforest, they had adapted to the cold climate where they could not cultivate or even find much edible food or vegetation. Modern civilization had slowly migrated up north over the years. Farther north modern man went, the more advanced in medicine and technology he was forced to discover in order to survive. This is one reason why northern regions of the world have the most advanced cities, scientists, and technology. Most evidence suggests that sizable groups would settle into a certain area, and then a small portion of those groups would split off and migrate to a new settlement. Later on, others would then draw from that settlement as well, and then resettle again even farther north, and so on and so on. As man migrated and settled into various climates, he began to physically adapt, as did animals who adapted to the climates seen in our last lesson. If you took a snapshot around the world just a few hundred years ago, long before mass transportation and migration, you would find that people from various regions of the world all had their own distinguished look from each other. People from the tropical rainforests of Africa primarily had a medium brown skin color and fine curly hair. The farther south you would go in Africa, the darker their complexions got and the curlier their hair became. If you go to northern regions of Africa, you would find their skin color tended to be lighter and their hair was less curly and now leaning toward wavy. As you headed to the Mideast and India region, people's complexions lightened up just a little more and their hair was more straight. Going up north, further still, into southern Europe, to places like Spain or Greece, you would find their complexions lightened up even more and their hair is much straighter and eye color starts to lighten up also. As you go further north into United Kingdom, Poland, and Germany region, skin color turns more olive. Hair color starts to vary from light brown to dirty blonde and auburn color. Many eyes adapt to light brown and green in color. Body hair also becomes more prevalent. As you go to the extreme north, up into Finland, Norway, and the Swedish region, skin color is now mostly paisley white. Hair ranges from strawberry blonde to pure blonde, and their eyes vary between green and blue in color. Just like the other animals of the polar regions, humans had also adapted to white in color. These adaptations had also altered our DNA and blood type. The rainforest people of Asia have adapted with similar results, but since they emerged from the rainforest much later than their African counterparts, their changes are not as drastic. If you go south from Asia to Australia, you'll find a darker skinned version of the Asian descent in the Aborigines. As you travel up north, you'll get a slight different effect to these adaptations. Skin gets lighter and facial features such as eyes and nose tend to be smaller. You can almost tell where people's ancestors came from by the color shade on the various longitude points on a map. In fact, evidence shows that there may be 3 original species of man, one coming from the tropical rainforest regions of Africa, one from the tropical rainforest region of Asia, and besides the Eskimos of North America who are Asian in descent, one from the tropical forest region of America. The bottom line is we are literally all cousins. White people are all just distant cousins of African blacks. A Chinese businessman in Beijing is a distant relative to a Malaysian farmer. A Cherokee Indian chief is a distant cousin to a chief in a tribe in the Amazon rainforest. Unfortunately, we have created a phony man-made line drawn in the sand. It's these lines that we have been using to separate ourselves from our cousins. The only true thing that separates us is how far and where our ancestors had traveled in the past. I hope this gives you a better view on human racism.